Hey gang, Professor Feeser here, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about what an API is. So API stands for Application Programming Interface, and pretty much it's any mechanism that allows you to get information or pass configuration to a machine. So if you want to think of a child's toy like Simon Says, right? Red, green, yellow, right? The switch in the center, on, off, slow, medium, fast, right? That's actually an API. You're controlling, it's a physical API, but you're controlling settings on that toy. Think of the diagnostic port in your car that you plug, a diagnostician would plug a meter into. That would be an API that could read or maybe even push post information to clear codes, for example, read and clear codes on your dashboard, right? When we hear the term API in computer science, typically it's associated with software. And a lot of times we'll hear terms like RESTful APIs or HTTP-based APIs, right? A lot of that's oftentimes assumed, but in general, an API is usually meant as we're going to use HTTP to push and pull information from an application. So right here, I have one of my favorite apps to teach from. This is a repository that I've created. It's called github.com/RZFeeser/SimpleFlaskService. And if you come over here, you can go ahead and give it a star if you're logged in to GitHub. You can watch it if you want. Fork it, if you want to, but it's constantly changing. It's probably easier and best just to keep an eyeball on the latest version. If we scroll down a little bit, this particular project right under the README has a description of the APIs that it features. So here we see /env. It says that, or it's trying to imply, if you used HTTP 1.1 to interact with this endpoint, you'll get back a 200 OK, which is the HTTP response code. This here would be an example of the data that would be attached to the response, right? They're saying env would come back and it would be mapped to all of your environmental variables, just like version would come back and be mapped to whatever the version of the app is that you're running. Health, similarly, sends back a 200. It's going to have some different data that it sends back. Info, different data. Alta3, different data. TalkingParrot, here within a RESTful API, you can have a question mark, one question mark, and then a key, say would be the key, and an equal sign, and then a value. So usually in help files, square bracket means don't include the square bracket. Replace this with a value. So if you passed in some value here, the API would actually read that in and pass it back to you. So if you said Polly want a cracker, it says to you squawk, Polly want a cracker. Down further, this isn't necessarily API information, but it's more information about how this service runs and would certainly be fair game for studying if you're trying to figure out how to deploy this. Now, a couple clarifications here. It is not clear that you send an HTTP GET in order to receive back this 200. Right? And if you go, what are you talking about? Well, okay. HTTP, the most popular HTTP method or message to send is a GET. It's a read-only message. And if they're not explicit in the API, then description, you can probably assume it's a GET that you're supposed to send. Another thing is, this is the way the author, who's myself, decided to describe using this service. There are a few standardized methods for trying to describe the endpoints These are endpoints of your your service, right? The APIs associated with your service. But there's nothing there that says like you have to do it this way. So be prepared to see lots of different documentation out in the wild. Right? It's a fair criticism that maybe I could be a little more specific in the type of HTTP message you want to send to actually interact with this. Okay. Let's go ahead and show using it. This particular service is stored out here in the Google Container Registry. So this is the Google Container Registry. If we look at recently tagged version, there's a main tag for this. And out on the README, it actually says down at the bottom, hey, if you're going to use this, go ahead and use the main version of it. So let's go ahead and grab that command. That's the same one pretty much that's on the package repository page. And I have it running right now. I'm going to stop it just so we can watch starting it. Okay, and we can run that same command in order to pull down the service and turn it on locally. That command says docker run in the background from port 9010 to 9876. That's where the service is actually operating. So local port 9010 to 9876. And then actually just the name of the service that we want to run. That's the GitHub Container Registry that we're going to. To interact with that is simply then like a curl command. Curl will send an HTTP GET. I know that's not explicit either, but blame curl, which is a command line utility that all Linux distros come with. Localhost 9010/health, send a GET to it. We see back the descriptors. It's JSON, but we saw that in the README. There was env, which dumped all the env variables. There was an Alta3, which dumped just a little bit about Alta3. There was a version. Nope, there wasn't a version. So that's why we got back a 404. That's actually the framework that this is built in, is saying, hey, I'm not sending you back a 200 plus JSON. I'm going to send you back a 404, an error code, which means whatever you're looking for doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. TalkingParrot say equals hello, squawk hello version. I am TalkingParrot 0.1. You said hello. So these are APIs. Curl is sending the HTTP GET for us. A 200 is coming back. That 200 carries these JSON responses, which are printing out on the screen. It doesn't have to be a JSON response. It could be plain text. It could be pictures. It could be really anything. But JSON is by far the most popular. That's a machine-to-machine way of transmitting data. Wow, what a practical demonstration of APIs, both what they are and in practice. If you like this video, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, so I can see you on the next episode of Code with Feeser.